Hi everybody, welcome to my channel for the usual tournament conclusion video. This one will be obviously regarding WTC that happened recently, and yeah, I will try to go over a little bit what happened in my 5 games and analyze, like I do usually, each of the unit performance and also give you the result and my impression over the tournament. First of all, regarding results, so this is an overview. On the right you have the table. So Germany ETC team ended up first. Congrats to them. I think it's a well-deserved victory. Then we have the 2 Polish team, and we ended up fourth, which is obviously what happens sometimes. Basically, we were second, I guess, before the last game. At least we played the final against Germany Alpha. It ended up being a close round. We needed close to a cap to win the tournament. Didn't got that, lost by a couple of points, and that we ended up basically jump over by the 2 Polish teams that were below us before the round, who got bigger win on the last round and jump over us to get on the podium. So congrats also to the 2 Polish team. Yeah, with the second and the third spot, I think it's still a strong performance from them to end up with both teams on the podium. So congrats to them, and also congrats to our Swiss colleague. They were below us during the tournament, but ended up very close to us at the end. It's sometimes funny because the table doesn't tell all the story of the event. I think we had the luck to play 4 out of 5 games in the smaller room, meaning on the top 3 table, where the action was really interesting, and also to avoid all the noise from the big hole, which was nice. It was very comfortable for us, and we had I think we had what we went to melee for, meaning challenging round, good preparation in regard to ETC. What happened during the round? So the first one against Danish, yeah, we made I think good performance. Nothing to say about that. Got a solid cap. Then second round, I think due to maybe a slight lack of preparation against them, because a good part of the team didn't prepare that well against all the team. I personally did all the estimation because I like to do it, but yeah, a good part of the team wasn't fully ready to face this team, and maybe they misjudged some of the matchup, and it's possible that we ended up with some not totally accurate estimation, first of all. And then secondly, yeah, on the table we just didn't end up doing good enough to win the round, and we lost it, which was the biggest disappointment for us during this weekend, because we expected to win that one. But including myself, I think we have regrets on a couple of tables during this round. Then third round we bounced back and get a cap. Fourth round was for us the positive note of the event. We beat Poland 1, which is always always good competitor. Very interesting to face them as always. And we got 88, which was a good sign for us that we were able to win against them, because you know that's never easy to win against them. And then the last round we played the final against Germany Alpha, where we lost by just a small margin, but I think mainly on these 2 tables where we had, I think on one, I don't know all the details of the pairing process, what happened, but I think we, on one hand, we misjudged some matchup, and secondly, we then, in the pairing, it leads to the pairing process not being totally optimized for us, and I think that was one of the reasons why we didn't end up with, we ended up with some bad matchup that maybe weren't identified as being so bad. So yeah, obviously 2 big losses that put us, it's hard then to compensate. We got a good amount of win, actually more win than them, but still 2 heavy losses is very hard to compensate. So overall, 2 losses, 2 caps, and one of them, I think, overall, if you look at the 5 rounds, we can have some regrets on the last one, but it was a close round, and we know it's also encouraging because we were close to them, and obviously we could be better prepared, and also maybe choose some better list in some case of our team for ETC. So I think it's mostly encouraging what happened on the Sunday. We mainly have regrets on the second round, where we should have done much better. So that's how it looks like. And personally, I ended up with 72 points, which is, it's quite good. I would have liked to do even better. I think there was still possibilities for me to do slightly better than that, but it's not bad. I put also what was the ranking just on the invariant performance. It's not saying everything, because basically it's not a solo tournament, it's a team tournament, but it's always interesting to first of all watch a little bit what list did well, what list have good offensive potential, and then secondly also to observe how a little bit the armies, if you have some, maybe you can identify what are the army that could potentially score heavily if they are put in the right condition. And then I also put the weighted leaderboard. I think it's also interesting just to remember you how it's done on Tourney Keeper. Basically on the weighted leaderboard, they multiply the amount of point that you get by the amount of point that your opponent gets, and it gives you a score. I think it's multiplied then by 2. I don't know why, but there should be a mathematical reason for that. And at the end you have a score, and according to this score a ranking will be done. As a team we ranked on the weighted leaderboard secondly, which also try to, I think it's represent somehow how hard was your pass through the tournament in relation to your performance, which is always an interesting indicator, I think. So here we ended up second on this panel, but the rest didn't change that much. And then on the single one, I was surprised to see that I ended up first, despite me not being in the top 10 of the top points with 72. But it looks like I faced some good opponents, which puts me up top, which was a slight surprise. But it's nice because then I know that my games weren't so easy games. I didn't felt I had any very easy opponent against me during the tournament. So it's always nice. I think it's always interesting to observe that, and you see that sometimes some of the top score aren't reflected in this weighted leaderboard because they not necessarily play against top competition. Sometimes that's also could be one of the reasons sometimes why people from lower team, I think you mainly can observe that at ETC where the amount of teams is bigger, basically where you have sometimes top scorer from lower team that get a very high total, but then on the weighted leaderboard are much lower because they faced, so to say, a player who obtain a lower amount of point, basically. My list as a reminder, and then this is my beloved unit impact analysis. What can you see here? So I added something new, is the performance feeling. I thought that was interesting just to observe and judge my performance over the 5 games. I think it's interesting as an indicator. Up top, as a reminder, you have a result against the different teams, my individual result against the different teams, and then I put in the matrix every entry of the list, in green where it's good performance, black as expected, red worse than expected, and then italic when I identify here a mistake in the way I use this unit, which led often to bad performance, more or less. And then in bold, I try to highlight some of the burst performance or MVP, so to say. We start with General Great Khan. Really happy about, he did exactly what I wanted for him, so win this big duel against the Count, which was quite dicey. He was able to zone when needed, and then to get rid of the Forsaken 1 games 4, and then didn't do much on the 2 games where not much happened, due mainly for me being the secondary objective being flag. So I think regarding Great Khan, is needed in this type of list because you need leadership 9 when you have several block who are worth a lot of points, so no big surprise. And I was quite happy about the build that I brought with the Kagadai, because I think it's a good way to complement what tribesmen bring to the table. The Khan, I will talk about that later regarding, because it was mainly another mercenary in the unit, but I love, as always, BSB 18, mainly when you have a third combat unit. You could put something else instead of the Tusker, but when you have the Tusker, I think 3 unit worth around 600 is a good justification for the BSB 18. Happy to get MR3. Shaman, really happy about the magical setup, what it gives me for the points that I pay. I think it works well with the rest of the list. And overall, I'm quite happy about the change that I made to the list in comparison to last year ETC list that I played. The core, tribesmen perform well. I think I put a lot of effort in making sure the tribesmen don't face something they don't want to face. So I deployed them with care to make sure they are not in bad matchups. And when you do that, I think with the Great Khan inside the units, or alone even sometimes, they can do well. In the first game, they took advantage from the aura of the first Mammoth to deal with the ghouls. They blocked the secondary game 3. And then game 4, they were like bodyguard for the Great Khan. And they did quite a lot for me. So good output versus the right target. They can be sometimes fragile, but I was happy that I have 11 of them. Then you have enough health point to try to last several combat, which is not always the case with my honor unit in the army. The darts, some mixed performance. Sometimes they die, sometimes they score secondary, sometimes they kill stuff, sometimes they break from combat. I think what I lacked with my 3 darts is the use of a musician. I didn't put musician since a long time on them, but I think in some specific case, especially on the flanks, a musician could be very helpful. And since I think the discipline banner, it's very situational, it will be helpful maybe 1 game out of 5. I think it's better to give 3 musicians that are helpful all of the time, or can be helpful all of the time. I also debated whether or not I could put also musician champion on 1 unit of bruiser, which is sometimes helpful against character to not die everybody. If you put the champion in the front and you play them in dart, could be an option. And then not put a musician on tribesmen that are mainly a unit in the middle of my line that don't necessarily need a musician. So that's debatable, but I went for the change of putting 3 musicians, as you will see in my next tournament list. Tusker, they didn't shine that much during this tournament. It's mainly the Death Star and the Mercs that shine in close combat. I think one of the main reasons for that is the fact that I decided to try some other deployment strategy with using the Tusker more as a zoner threat in the middle of my line or on the weak flanks, so to say, rather than what I did at the Bellum Lacom, which was use them on the strong flank and push and put them in combat. I think they are better on the strong flank because they can use their higher mobility than the rest of the list, first of all. And then also, it's a unit that sometimes needs to avoid multiple chaff because they are not so easy to back and then they cannot shoot and so on. So I think in several games I could have and maybe should have switched position to put the Tusker on a stronger position where they could push. The one game that I put them in the right situation to really be able to push, then for an unknown reason I decided not to push and then I just failed charge a long charge where I could have just pushed and get the points and try to do more. So I think some regrets in the way I deploy and use them, mainly game 2. I think mainly on game 2 we can discuss that. Maybe game 1 even they weren't deployed on the best part of the map, so that's some regret that I have by using them, but not every unit can shine, and that's also one of the strengths of the list. I think these 3 units have similar output in close combat, meaning if one delivers properly, in most cases you don't need another one to face a lot of combat as well. So that's also one of the key strengths of my list. Merc Vets, they did a good tournament. Key combat on the first game where I got the right buffs on and then go in combat and they delivered 2 up. I mean, with so many attacks, it's always going to do some damage. This game, I think they weren't deployed on the best part of the map. That's definitely where I have some regrets in my deployment. Then they did shots, killing stuff in combat or from shooting, so it's always a helpful unit. Sometimes they are worth a lot of points, they can be fragile to stuff, you need to be careful what you do with them, and obviously they drive a lot of the choices in the list, so that's an element. But I always love the versatility of the Merc Vets that can do stuff from distance and stuff in close combat, despite the fact that they are always limited because it's always going to be 24 plus movement 6, so it's not the same as a cannon against a monster, for example. But they cannot be perfect that everything can be as strong as a cannon. Saber-tooth Tiger, Didn't use it well. I think the one game where I needed the most, but it's more the overall situation than really the use of the saber-tooth tiger alone. But the fact that I missed the sign that my opponent was able to push lead to the fact that I wasn't ready in the right position with the tiger to chaff. And this was definitely a situation where the tiger should have run in front of the Doomblade unit and then chaffed the unit. And that would have been a problem solved and a big help from him. Other than that, didn't use him a lot, died to magic sometimes. 2 games where I don't needed him a lot, but it's still always helpful to have a dedicated chaff. Frosty Giant, as you can see, not so many good performance. The Frosty, not so usual for me, but he was helpful to debuff the aura in some combat, which is not something I use a lot, but it's definitely a help sometimes. I had to sacrifice him a bit to save the game on game 2, and then I did some movement, tried to hurt stuff, and here I did some misplay that led to his death. So it's always a helpful piece. I think it's a very versatile unit, not a crazy good monster, but it gives a lot to the list. Aura, chilling hole, sometimes helpful, decent in combat. So I still love what the Frost can do, but I could have used it better, I guess. And the Giant, same, it died several times. I love him on the weak flank. I think it's a good piece that moves well, that is expendable, but he didn't see much combat, and I didn't use him so well, thinking especially about game 2, where he could have instead charged the unit out that looked to be out of the bubble. Thanks to I don't remember who that was, but somebody put in the comment section that it looks like that the unit on the far right was out of the bubble, and definitely by looking again at the pictures, I didn't realize at the time, but when the Vermin Demon is so far away from the unit, it means that the unit hasn't a good leadership, and that could have been for me a way out to take a flag in his list that I completely missed. So that was interesting to point out. Thanks to the guy that identified that. Regarding secondary objective, I win 3 of them, draw 2 times on flag. Not a big deal, not a new issue. I knew that my, I would say, offensive potential on capture the flag is more limited than on other secondary objectives. So I know how it is. Despite that, on both games, I could have done slightly better, I guess. Not much, on the last one I think not much, maybe 1 point if I play better with the Frost Mammoth, but definitely on this one, despite the secondary being flag. Estimation, I was pretty okay outside of 2 matchup rating. This one I think I was a bit too conservative with the 10 because of the secondary objective and the list. I think it's slightly in my advantage. And on the 4th game, I think this was definitely a case of an unstable Warrior of Dark God matchup. I don't know why I put 13. I felt confident about all the ground, but definitely depends a lot on who starts, and it is always going to be an explosive and unstable matchup. So I think definitely a 10 would have been more accurate. Performance feeling, how do I feel overall about my game? I felt I played okay on game 1, 4 and 5. I have a bit of regret on game 3, and I have even more regret on game 2. Game 3, basically, I just lacked aggression with my Tusker mainly. I could have get a couple of more points. Didn't matter much because we got the win and the cap. But still, it's worth mentioning. And game 2, that's the game where I have most regret. I just, lost track of the chaff. What can he do? How he can be aggressive and switch the pace of the game at some point. And that's definitely a good learning experience for me, and was definitely a very interesting game to analyze. So here I have definitely some regrets. I think I could have done better than 10, and that would have also impacted positively the result of the team. So that's one of the table where we can have regret as a team. But overall, I think, like I mentioned at Bellum Lacum, I'm happy with the list. I think it suits my play style well. It's solid enough, and I think since I'm playing it for quite a long time now, almost. If you check, I played that last ETC without the Tusker, and now I added up some changes also in reaction to the Vermin Swarm appearing. I think the Tusker changed a lot in this matchup. Getting very familiar with the list, know very well the matchup, know what I can do. Still, there are ways to optimize my game and do even more, do even better. But I'm quite happy about the list and what it can do at the table. I think it suits me quite well. So I don't see any big change for the moment. Impression on the tournament. Secondary objective, I think I was positively surprised in comparison to what we have at ETC, for example. As you can see, I didn't manage to avoid capture the flag that much. So definitely, I think it's not bad. The problem with ETC system and having one single secondary objective per round, it brings kind of a luck factor, because depending on which team you face and the meta that they have in their list, basically it could be sometimes a huge advantage to have something with board control like old ground, and sometimes to their advantage to get something with more avoidance possible, and so on. So I think this plays a role and sometimes could have a huge influence on the round at ETC level. But yeah, I'm still not still don't know what to think, which one is really the better option. A top level organization, yeah, you can expect that from Frederick and his team. I think they always do good, but this time being 2 days without moving from the hotel and everything at the same place in the same hotel, I think that's the dream of every wargamer. This is definitely the best combination on the logistic point of view that I experienced, and this was amazing venue. The food was great. We had a lot of choice what you want to hit. I ate quite a lot. Definitely everything at one place was just really amazing, and I wouldn't hesitate twice before coming again next year. Competitive level, I think that's something we were looking for. Some of the best training that you can get for ETC, because it's 8-man team event first of all, and you have also some strong competition attending. You saw the German team, Polish team, you have some of the best that are going to this event, and I think this was something we couldn't miss as a team willing to go to ETC and do well. Competitive but friendly, I enjoyed a lot the event and the games overall. I think in all my games it was a friendly atmosphere. We were able to play without any troubles. So yeah, I enjoyed a lot the atmosphere around my 5 games, and thanks again to my 5 opponents for the games. Enjoyed playing against you guys. Small rooms for top table was definitely a big plus. That was really enjoyable. If you play like us 4 out of 5 games in those small rooms, definitely you are less exhausted at the end of the weekend than the people that were the whole time in the big hall. So I think that was really enjoyable, and also brought a different atmosphere. Sometimes you see, especially on the top room, then you are really all 16 guys in the same room and only you. And this was definitely something that I enjoyed a lot. Regarding our team, a small comment, what we could have done better. It's funny because if you remember, my cover at the beginning of the tournament was it was like a joke cover, a meme written like Erfurt is not ready. I think the conclusion could also be Switzerland was not fully ready, because I think we lacked a bit of preparation and to do even better, first of all. And also then the list, we made the choice that we wanted to try out some list rather than take the list that were going to be with a high certainty level, or ETC list. I think we still try out some concept, and yeah, these weren't the best list that we could have brought to the event. And I think both this parameter to optimize that a little bit could have helped us to reach our goals. Yeah, that's all, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the battle report. I saw quite a lot of comments and reaction being on forum, YouTube, French, English. So I enjoy a lot. I think you enjoyed this battle report as well, and I'm really already looking forward to ETC this summer. In the meantime, what do I have for you? I'm attending in a couple of days a tournament in Switzerland. It's a team tournament. Less competitive than WTC, but still a good amount of ETC Switzerland player will be there. So this will be interesting, 4-man event with 4 games. So you can expect battle report from that, obviously. And I will be back with my Ogre Pirate this time. And after that, mainly it will be focused training. I will try to do a lot of training online before ETC and see whether or not I change the list, the army, what do I bring, and so on. As I said, I feel good with Ogre. I have quite a lot of experience on tournament with them, and I know how to play them, so it's likely that I stay or something similar to what I'm playing at the moment, but you never know what can change in a couple of months and what we decide to do with the team for this summer, but really looking forward to that. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching the channel and commenting, and talk to you soon for other battle report. Bye bye.